Okay, thanks. So first of all, thank you for inviting me and represent the community as part of Microsoft on the WVD topic. So first of all, before I kick off and introduce myself, so Windows Virtual Desktop has been like a great service and is still a great service. And working for Microsoft as a global black belt, is amazing because during COVID-19, which is a very bad and negative situation right now, Windows Virtual Desktop and obviously other services of Microsoft as well make it possible for companies to continue work from home or remotely. And we saw a big like increasement, like a hockey stick effect, like prior and during the beginning of COVID-19. And it makes it very intense as well to work for Microsoft and to do like something special, to do something for companies and make that possible with this solution. So we never expected that that amount would happen in such like early stage, because Windows Virtual Desktop is only a GA for roughly like 7-8 months now, and the amount of production workloads that are landing on the platform right now is already amazing. So in the next like 60 minutes or so, I will walk you through what is Windows Virtual Desktop, what is new, and beyond that, I will explain as well what you can do to migrate to Windows Virtual Desktop, what are the kind of tool sets that you can use for that. And in the meantime, or in the end, I will take some time as well to answer some questions. So first of all, as I said, I'll work as a global black belt within Microsoft. So global black belt doesn't mean this. So sometimes I get a lot of questions, okay, where's your black belt? And so black belt basically means is that you're a part of an incubation team of a new service within Microsoft, and you help the engineering team to bring the product to the customers. So I'm basically sitting between Microsoft Corp and Redmond and the field, where I'm helping the field and helping Redmond, to bring back feedback to the engineering team. So it's a great like dynamic role, and I'm really pleased to do that. As part of my role, I try to be engaged and stay engaged with the communities as well. So previously, before I joined Microsoft, I was part of the MVP community as well, and I'm still part of the MVP community as part of the Reconnect program. And I try to do the best I can to help the community as well, to express and explain WVD and the other services that WVD is using to help the community to learn about the service. So just to be honest, as part of like my step into Microsoft, I think when I did not do community work like 4 years ago when I started that, this journey would probably not happen. So I'm really like pleased and privileged to do the things that I do today, and I'm very happy and are very respectful to what the community can achieve with you. So just to give you a little bit of background how I joined Microsoft, I came in with the FSLogix acquisition. So back in November 19 in 2018, Microsoft acquired FSLogix, and FSLogix was basically the leading company before it got acquired in enhancing better experience on a virtualized environment on Office 365 and logon and application delivery. And as part of the acquisition right now, FSLogix, like the profile solution and application solution, is sort of like is the fundament of Windows Virtual Desktop. So I will touch base later on that as well, but the profile solution is basically in a containerized virtual hard drive, which stores your profile inside a virtual hard drive and separates the profile from the operating system. Very enhanced technology, and therefore the operating system and Office 365 services don't know or see that it is like running on a virtualized environment, and your profile can be roamed to other like session hosts as part of Windows Virtual Desktop easily as well. So just in a nutshell what FSLogix is, and this is a great picture that reminds me of the first visit after the acquisition on Redmond and at the campus at Building 92, which includes myself, obviously, but as well the founder, Randy Cook, which is now part of the team, as well as part of the program manager, Doc Coombs, the program manager of FSLogix, and some of the other folks that are part of the evangelists, as well as like sort of similar, bringing FSLogix to the market, and being like the engineer, the sales engineer to explain the product to the community eventually. So great picture that reminds me to a great momentum, and now almost like 2 years after that, yeah, it has been a great ride to be honest. So let's touch base a little bit on an agenda, and let's make this again a very simplified, because I like simplicity, and I will talk more about that word later on as well. So on the agenda, we will talk about like what is Windows Virtual Desktop, what are the recent updates. So I will make you in like let's say 40 minutes from now, I will make you a Windows Virtual Desktop expert, and I will get you up to speed and make you aware of all the latest and greatest updates that we deliver to the service, and as well the capabilities that you can use as part of, for example, Azure Migrate, to migrate your on-premises workloads to Microsoft Azure, your on-premises VDI infrastructure, your traditional VDI environment or RDS environment, to Windows Virtual Desktop as part of Azure. But before I do that, I would like to jump into a story around the service as well. So normally when I'm like presenting for a large audience, I'm asking this question personally, but right now here we are virtually talking with each other. So I would normally ask, okay, do you know which cockpit is this? Is it a plane? What is it? So I will make it easy for you. This is the cockpit of the Atlantis space shuttle. So as you saw, a lot of buttons are active here. So you must educate yourself pretty much to control this shuttle. So as you know, roughly 2 weeks ago, SpaceX wrote history while like going into space and to the International Space Center with an own created rocket that is very efficient because it can be reused and it is completely autonomous. So really revolutionary, and yeah, very good way to be efficient with the rocket, and as well in going to the International Space Center in a very safe manner. So if we look at that cockpit in comparison to the Dragon rocket of SpaceX, it's amazing how simplified that cockpit is from like the space, or from the Dragon is in comparison to the space shuttle. And that's exactly the word that I just alluded to, simplicity. And normally I would ask as well, do you know which picture is behind simplicity? So that's from the movie with Tom Hanks, Houston, we have a problem. I thought it was be fun because it's like partly the Houston, Texas user group. So a little bit fun in here. But simplicity is the key word of Windows Virtual Desktop as well, and as well Microsoft Azure. So with Microsoft Azure, we make it easy to do data management, maintaining your data center, creating services easily, because like we created platform services and you can build on top of that. So all the like fundament work is already done for you, and you can adjust your automation for that and use like services easier. And the Azure platform is completely available globally, so you don't have to invest in hardware, all kinds of stuff that is dramatically like simplified while leveraging Azure, and as well eventually Windows Virtual Desktop. I will explain why. So we'll remember this kind of like own traditional data centers. So you're going to see this kind of cable management inside Azure, but it always reminds me like from 10 years ago when I came into like a customer's data center, and I would like to like patch a wall outlet and came into this. That's really fun. When I look at like this kind of pictures. So really what I would like to rephrase here is the word simplicity. And simplicity is something that is part of the digital transformation. And the digital transformation is around making things easier in life, being disruptive, being part of like cutting edge of technology, have technology in place that makes it easier for you to leverage like a service faster and more efficient. And that really resonates with this quote from our CEO, Satya Nadella. Our industry does not respect tradition. What it respects is innovation. Be on the cutting edge of technology. Be the disruptor of things that we did in the past. Make it more efficient. Make it more faster to enroll it and help our customers and partners with that. And that brings me up to a point that I just explained in the intro of this presentation, why Windows Virtual Desktop was and is still a great success in like a remote working scenario due to COVID-19. is what you see over here in this first bucket. So that's what we call the Windows Virtual Desktop Workspace, or previously known as the tenant. And the tenant includes like all the services that you normally did in a traditional RDS or VDI infrastructure environment yourself, now completely automated, managed, and maintained by Microsoft as a platform service, or a desktop as a service solution, how you call it as well, and like terminology that we use in the industry. So everything that you see here, web access, diagnostic, gateway, management, brokering, load balancing, global load balancing, everything is already in place for you. And you can just start with creating your session host, your images, your application delivery procedure, everything around that. And that's basically the middle bucket that you see over here. That's your Azure subscription. That's your own responsibility. But because you leverage your Azure infrastructure as a service, you leverage the simplicity as well of Azure infrastructure as a service, which is underneath that. So the middle bucket is where you create your session host, which can run Windows 7 with 3 years extended security updates, a Windows 10 single session, but as well Windows 10 multi-session, which is a new operating system which gives you the benefits and experience of Windows 10 single session, with the multi-session capabilities that you know from Windows Server, however, without the trade-off in terms of experience of Windows Server, because you leverage Windows as a service. So you get every 6 months the latest and greatest features that you get with Windows 10 as well. So it's a really efficient way of doing the creation and the updates of Windows 10, and as well getting latest and greatest features and improvements on, for example, the RDP protocol. So from a customer perspective, and as well from a Microsoft engineering perspective, it's a win on both sides. So besides Windows 10, we see obviously Windows 10 single session and multi-session as two pillars of this new Windows Virtual Desktop service. However, if you are an existing customer of RDS or a traditional VDI environment, you can use as well Windows Server 2012, R2, 16, or 19 images if you want to. So you can just use that as a baseline of your host pool creation as part of your Azure subscription, and use that as a baseline and use your custom images for that. As part of custom images, you can obviously do that as well with Windows 10 and Windows 10 multi-session. I will touch base more later on that, what you can use for that as part of Azure to simplify image management as well as application delivery as part of Windows Virtual Desktop. So you can publish remote apps and as well desktops. So that creates the possibility to publish a complete desktop, like a desktop with a start menu, but as well only the app consolidated. And because, as I said earlier, you leverage IaaS, so compute networking storage, so basically the data center, hypervisor layer networking is all managed and maintained for you as well, because you leverage the IaaS of Azure. So as you see, a very efficient way from the front end and as well as the back end to create a complete virtualized desktop virtualization environment, which is called Windows Virtual Desktop. And that's as well the reason why during COVID-19, this service has been so popular and created, and I cannot share exact numbers with you, but I can say that the forecasted number of Windows Virtual Desktop at the end of this Microsoft financial year is 6 times more than we expected at the end of the year. So it's really amazing. So, and the reason because of that is the simplicity of this service. So rephrase that name again, because that is what Windows Virtual Desktop is. So what we see in a huge compelling use case in like virtualization scenarios in the field is, and I created 4 different buckets for that. Is in the security and regulation space. So think about healthcare vertical, financial services, FSI, government kind of use cases where there's a regulation that when you log on and log off there, that you don't left any like data footprint, don't leave any data footprint on the endpoint left. So that's something that is like a benefit of a desktop virtualization solution, and Windows Virtual Desktop is one of them, but as well consolidating the access to your corporate environment only for that desktop and not like a complete subnet via VPN could be a very good way as well to leverage Windows Virtual Desktop. So that's what we see in the security and regulation space a lot. Obviously, elastic workforces, think about mergers, acquisitions. A large company, global company does an acquisition, and need those new employees get up to speed as soon as possible. So with Windows Virtual Desktop, you can centralize, manage and spin up a complete like virtual desktop environment very easily within a couple of hours, and those new employees as part of the acquisition can continue work. Same for work from home, as I said, COVID-19, but as well just in general, remote working is one of the use cases that is very, very easy to do. Short-term employees, contractors, freelancers. If you, for example, have a freelancer that works for you for 3 months, you create a desktop, you spin it up, you let it run for 3 months, and then you spin it down, and you only pay for the compute cost for that specific time frame. Specific employees, think about bring your own device, mobile workers, call centers, branch workers, all kinds of like custom devices that are supported with Windows Virtual Desktop are possible as well. So think about an Android or iOS phone or tablet, but as well Linux is supported with like IGLS and client vendor that can deliver Linux thin clients with as well the software on top that can set up the connection to Windows Virtual Desktop. And as well, last but not least, specialized workloads. So as I said, Windows 10 single sessions or Windows 10 single session persistent is possible as well. And with that, you can like give a user dedicated resources on one virtual desktop. You can assign as well extra graphical resources with N series, like based on NVIDIA or AMD with the new NVV4 series. And designing and engineering use cases become very efficient to do because you can centralize, manage your virtualized environment, your virtual desktops, and you can start your engineering workloads like AutoCAD or Revit or SolidWorks. And normally they have to be in the office physically in front of that physical PC to start that like AutoCAD application. And right now they can do it from home as well, which is amazing because that releases themselves from work from home, do the things that they normally do at work, and it releases themselves from investing in like that high-end compute hardware device that is sitting in that physical like office. They can obviously take that away from the office and take it back from home, and the day after take it back to the office, but that's not very efficient, right? So that's something we can solve. We can do that as well on the multi-user Windows 10, obviously. Legacy apps, think about you have a legacy app, you want to consolidate that and centralize manage that from Azure. You want to publish that as only a remote app, only the application itself, so not the complete desktop with a start menu, but only the app, and then integrate it in the start menu of like a physical laptop that is managed by Intune as an example. That could be possible as well. So a very efficient way to get like Win32 applications consolidated and centralized managed from your Azure subscription. And one of the use cases we see a lot as well is software development. So think about developers that are active in, for example, India, and you hire them for a short term. You can send them like a physical laptop that can connect via VPN to the corporate environment. But what you can do as well, because most likely that developer has his own laptop, you can say, okay, go to this URL, this public URL. We consolidate access with Azure MFA and conditional access to make it very secure. And log on with your new Azure AD credentials. And here's your application set that you can use as part of your development work. So a very efficient way to do kind of developer use cases as well with Windows Virtual Desktop. So I touched base on the architecture. Why is it like so efficient? What are the kind of compelling use cases? But I did not talk really about like what Windows Virtual Desktop really is. So I want to just quickly, like 1 or 2 minutes, rephrase that a little bit with this opening slide that we normally use for that. So Windows Virtual Desktop is available worldwide, which means is that you have the complete Azure data center infrastructure available for you to build up your Azure and your Windows Virtual Desktop session host and make it globally available from the USA, from Europe, from Asia. It doesn't really matter. So it's very easy to completely create a global load balanced environment that is like using Windows Virtual Desktop as the underlying technology and the service. You can leverage the Windows 10 multi-session, which gives you the best virtualized experience based on a multi-session environment and an operating system as part of Windows Virtual Desktop. So that's only exclusively to Windows Virtual Desktop or via a partner like Citrix and VMware. They can do that as well with the partnership. It's completely optimized for Office 365 Pro Plus because, first of all, that acquisition of FS Logic, so that's the fundament, that's the Profile container technology, but we adjusted as well the core product like OneDrive. We made it possible with files on demand and per machine to make it better work on a virtualized environment. And now with Teams as well, Teams per machine, and the Teams audio and video redirection that is just released a week ago, which I'm going to demonstrate later on as well. So you can migrate Windows Server desktops and apps. So if you have an existing RDS environment or traditional VDI environment, it's easy to migrate that. I will explain what the procedure for that is later on as well. And you can deploy in skill minutes. You leverage the Azure cloud, so you can deploy based on the resources that we prepared for you. You can scale up based on business hours. You can spin them down afterwards, save compute costs on that, or you can apply reserve instances as an alternative. So you pay upfront for 1 over 3 years and get a discount on that. And in the near future, we will make it possible as well to do load-based scaling based on events or resources on the CPU. And then based on high spikes of the CPU, you automatically spin extra session hosts as extra to ensure the user experience. So that's a short intro of Windows Virtual Desktop. So Windows Virtual Desktop is available worldwide, as I said. So as part of the worldwide service of Windows Virtual Desktop, we have several locations around the globe that holds like that control plane that I just explained in the architecture slide. So as part of that control plane, the web service gateway and brokering is part of that. So that's where your session is flowing through. So we have several locations around the globe that makes this service a global wide service. And those are load balanced over the Azure front door service automatically to the DNS server that is like closest to your nearest like physical location. So if you are traveling a lot, you will always use the nearest like point of presence location. And the good thing as well is that we currently add more and more locations to that to make the user experience better and better. But if you are living in the States or in Central Europe or in Australia, you have a latency of probably below 50 milliseconds, and we require below 150 milliseconds. So that's way better than what we recommend. Currently, if you live in South Africa, you could have a challenge. However, South Africa is the next one that is coming to the offering. So we are currently working on having an instance in South Africa, in France, Germany, Norway, in the UK, Korea, and as well in the United Arabian UAE region. And the good thing about this is what you saw in that previous picture. That doesn't mean that you cannot create session hosts in any other Azure data center region. That's independent from that. So this is just where your session is flowing through, but you can place your Windows Virtual Desktop session host in any Azure data center that supports compute. So that's completely separate. So don't get me wrong on that side. So this is the most fun slide of today. I will go very quickly over this because it's a community presentation, but just to make you aware of what you need for Windows Virtual Desktop in terms of licensing. In terms of the client licenses, so what we prefer that you to use and where you get the most benefit out is the client licenses piece. And with the client licenses piece, we mean Windows 10 single and multi-session usage, and Windows 10 7 with 3 years extended security updates. And with the licenses that you see on the left side, so for example, M365, E3, E5, F3 Business, or Windows 10 Enterprise or Education, E3 or E5, and some others, you are entitled to use that control plane for free. So all those resources are all paid for you, prepaid. So that's part of the license. And as well the operating system costs, and as well the RDS call is integrated in that all. So if you use the client operating systems, you don't have to pay for an RDS call anymore. So you save on that side as well, which is roughly $15 or something in terms of retail price. So if you still want to go for Windows Server, you have that option, but therefore you still need an RDS call with active software assurance. So we really hope that you go for Windows 10 single or multi-session, because from a licensing perspective and as well the benefits in terms of cost, that's the best way to go. The other great thing is if you leverage, whether it's like client or server, you don't pay for the operating system cost as part of Azure. So that's what we call Linux rates. And as part of your Azure billing, you only pay for the compute if you use a Windows Virtual Desktop workload. So if you use a gallery image, you are already prepared for that. If you use a custom image, you need to do the checkbox for that in the Azure portal underneath properties, that you sort of just like the hybrid use benefit program, that you just sort of like give commitment that you are accepting the fair use policy, that you are using a Windows Virtual Desktop workloads, and then the operating system costs are taken away. It's slightly similar to the hybrid use benefit kind of program, how that works. And as I said earlier, you can use power management tooling, so you can spin machines up and down after business hours. That's supported. We have scripting for that, and you can save money because after business hours, not every employee is working, so you can spin the machines down for 50% and only pay for that in terms of the compute cost. But if you have a company that works towards like night shifts and the environment needs to be available for all the users 24/7, then reserve instances could be a good pick for you as well, because you prepay for 1 over 3 years upfront. And with that, it doesn't really matter anymore if that machine is turned off or on, because you already prepaid for it. So that could be more efficient, and that can give you up to a retail like pay-as-you-go price, a 72% discount as well. And that leads me up to the next slide, and that's basically the fun part of this presentation, and that's around all the updates around Windows Virtual Desktop, because Windows Virtual Desktop has been huge in terms of interest and demand. But the great thing about Windows Virtual Desktop is that it is still in like development of making it the best solution, desktop virtualization solution possible as part of your M365 licensing model and as part of Azure. So one of the key elements, and that is like announced in this blog article written by Brad Anderson, which is one of the presenters today as well, is the improvements on going from a non-ARM based model to an ARM-based model as part of Windows Virtual Desktop. So that's something what you can see here. So you have on the left side the fall 2019 release, which is like non-ARM, which is not part of ARM, the Azure ARM model. And that's the current GA product. And in that blog article, we announced the ARM-based model of Windows Virtual Desktop, which means the complete embracement of the Azure portal and the ARM objects as part of the Azure portal, which gives you a lot of benefits in terms of the management experience, and as well as part of your alignment with auto services as part of Azure. So we are sort of in a sandwich moment right now, which solution you want to pick. So a lot of customers are currently on the non-ARM based model. We will provide scripting and seamless scripting solutions for that to make the migration to the new ARM based model possible. If you are currently in a situation that you want to POC or implement Windows Virtual Desktop, and your your live date to go into production is prior or later, or is this like later than this month, then you should go for the ARM-based model, because the GA release is planned for this quarter. So it's very efficient to directly go for the ARM-based model then. So just to give you some clear information what the differences are between non-ARM and ARM. So first of all, within non-ARM, it was not possible to assign a user group, an Active Directory group, to a specific application or desktop. That's possible with ARM, so you can configure Azure Active Directory user groups to either desktops and application to make it very dynamic and easy to configure that. The admin control features are increased, because previously it was custom roles. Right now we leverage the RBAC model of Azure, so you can just leverage IAM objects and assign it to a certain amount of groups of IT admins, and only show them like a certain amount of configuration items as part of your Windows Virtual Desktop environment. We align now with the ARM-based model in the Azure PowerShell module. So huge use enhancement to leverage the Azure module and not like a separate module. The management UI is now completely integrated in the Azure portal. I will show that later on as well, which is really easy to implement and as well maintain and assign like users to applications in your portal to your Windows Virtual Desktop environment. So it's fairly easy to do the implementation and the maintenance and like assignment of things afterwards. The monitoring UI is now possible to completely integrate with Azure Monitor, Log Analytics, or Azure Sentinel. I have some examples of that later on as well. So it's fairly easy to activate that. Your metadata can be changed. So previously it was impossible. Now with the ARM-based model, you can select a custom metadata location of one of the control plane offerings that we have today. Currently in the public preview right now of the ARM-based model, you can only select the USA. But during GA or slightly after the GA release, we will add Western Europe as a selection point, and then we move to the Asia region, and then all the other regions will be added as a selection point for the metadata storage. And last but not least, all the pre-steps that you know from the non-ARM-based model, like PowerShell, consent, all the steps that were separate from the Azure portal are now part of the Azure portal. So no PowerShell before moving over to the Azure portal anymore. So really simplified how you can do the enrollment. So this is the new dashboard screen. So if you go to the Azure portal, you click or you search for Windows Virtual Desktop in the search bar in the top. and you will go to this menu, and this is basically your starting point. You can click on create a host pool, and then you start the creation of your host pool, your machines, all kinds of stuff that you do initially to create like the desktops and the remote apps for your end users. When you're done with that, you can like as well troubleshoot and do help desk kind of work here. So you can click on users and then search for a user, and you can see where that user is logged onto, which host pool, which VM. You can send like a message. You can log that user off. You can disconnect that user. You can do the assignments, all kinds of help desk kind of work that is now available inside the Azure portal. You can set like writes, like redirection configuration settings directly from the portal as part of your host pool properties. So you just click on properties, RDP settings, and there you can like disable redirection of your clipboard, printers, disks, audio, video, all kind of stuff that is in the previous like non-ARM-based version only possible via PowerShell, now as well via the portal very easily. PowerShell is now available as part of the Azure model. As I said, it's the AZ.desktop virtualization model as part of the resource provider. So that's fairly easy to use right now. And another great thing as part of the ARM-based model is that you can leverage the shared image gallery. The shared image gallery is a service as part of Azure, which makes it possible to do versioning of your images. So out of like a manually created version of like a virtual machine, you can capture it as an Azure managed image, and then you can create an image definition, a newer version, and then you can use it as a baseline as part of your host pool, as you can see on the left screenshot over here. And that creates as well the possibility to use custom images, but as well to do image updates, because you can create in the shared image gallery new versions of images. And as part of like adding machines to the host pool, you automatically use the latest version as part of the shared image gallery. So you can do easily like the versioning as part of the shared image gallery. You create a new version. And as part of the creation or the add of the machines as part of your host pool, you add always on that latest version machines to your host pool. So it's a fairly easy way to do image management. And then you can decide if you want to spin your existing production machines down or put them in drain mode and then promote the new ones. That's all possible with the new ARM-based model of Windows Virtual Desktop. So if you're interested in the procedure of that more depth, this QR code links you to a blog article that I wrote that it goes very deeply on how you can do that, like a walkthrough article. So just to give you a very quick heads up on what the Azure image gallery, the shared image gallery is. So I already explained that you can do versioning, of course, but one of the other key elements that is part of that service is cross-region global distribution. So if you are a global company that is active in the USA and as well in Europe, and you have like several subscriptions and you want to replicate that image to that other subscription, that other region, or the same subscription, different region, you can easily do that with shared image gallery. And that makes it possible as well to create like a high available infrastructure around your images. If there's an outage, as an example, and scaling of images and making images available as local redundant as well as zone redundant are possible. So all kinds of like extra features that you easily can adjust while using the shared image gallery are available because of that. And the other great thing is that you can leverage with the shared image gallery and as well the Azure VM image builder service, which completely runs based on JSON files. And this is a great picture, by the way, that always reminds me of the movies that I watched in the past, action movies, and the technology that I'm leveraging right now, which I'm representing as part of customers, is the Azure VM image builder service. That's a fairly new service that is currently in a public preview as well, that runs via custom JSON files. And with that, you can completely create custom images based on customization, PowerShell automation that you do to build up your images completely automated. So you can easily create new images based on procedures that you completely automated. Like, for example, add the Average Logic agent or your line of business apps or Teams or any other application that you want to add completely automated as part of your image. You can drag an image out of the Azure image gallery and then create a custom one and then export it into the Azure shared image gallery and use it as a baseline for your host pool. So a fairly yeah, easy way to do, and as well a unified way to do it consistently without making any mistakes, because you leverage automation for that. So that's something that is currently in public preview. This service is in evolvement as well. So what I learned is that JSON will be not converted, but it will be possible as well to use PowerShell for doing the complete procedure, which you can do right now with JSON. And eventually there will be a GUI available as well inside the Azure portal that you can leverage for that. So a fairly easy way to do like customization of your images. So as I said earlier, integration with Log Analytics is now possible. So you can easily, inside the Windows Virtual Desktop Service, activate diagnostic settings and export your Log Analytics or your logs to Log Analytics, your errors of like registration of your host pool or connection errors. All kinds of logging metrics that you want to retrieve and proactively monitor are easily possible to export into Log Analytics. And the great thing of that is that you can create custom dashboards with Log Analytics and Azure Monitor and make it visible for like the IT department, what is going on in the environment. So this is an example that we currently create internally that will be released hopefully very soon, that you can leverage as a customer to show the insights of your environment proactively. What is the logon duration? Where are my users coming from? Where or how is my host registration going? So all kinds of information that you can see over here that will be available. And as you can see over here as well, is that there are several options here. So you can see as well, like disk performance, how many IOPS do I consume right now? How many disk space do I have left? All kinds of relevant information that you need to proactively monitor as part of your virtualized environment, as part of Windows Virtual Desktop. So this will be available very soon. So you can basically build this yourself, because Log Analytics is not that hard to configure. So as part of the Arm-based model, so just to give you a quick heads up on what you need to have for that. So the procedure in terms of requirement is slightly the same on, in a comparison to the non-Arm-based model. So you need to have obviously an Azure subscription. You need to have Azure Active Directory with as well AD or ADDS. So you need to have that in conjunction. We will move into completely native Azure AD very soon. So we are working on that internally. So in the meantime, you can leverage AD on-prem over ExpressRoute or AD on Azure or ADDS, so Azure Active Directory Domain Services instead. If you leverage a custom image, you need to have that custom image already in place in, for example, the shared image gallery. A virtual network needs to be prepared, or obviously, if you want to go for the Average Logix profile container, you need to have a storage location for that, like Azure Files as an example, and the required credentials, of course. So think about an Azure administrator, an owner to do the registration of the desktop virtualization resource provider, and a domain admin or similar kind of domain admin dedicated like right service account to do the domain join of your session host to the Active Directory environment. So enough talking. Let's start with the first demo of today. So this is the procedure of the new Arm-based model. So you go to the of the enrollment of the Arm-based model. So you go to the Azure portal, you search for Windows Virtual Desktop, and you click on Create a Host Pool. And in there, you start with the selection of your Azure subscription, your resource group, your host pool name, which can be a remote app or desktops, can be a random name, the location of your metadata, which can be in the US and later on in Europe as well. So the host pool type, which can be personal pooled. So personal means one-to-one, so a dedicated like virtual machine. And pooled means like Windows 10 multi-session, a subset of machines, and when you log off, you will be like logging on to a new other like Windows 10 multi-session session host. Here you add the virtual machines to the session or to the host pool. So basically, you add session hosts to the host pool. You select like the prerequisites for that. Here you can select the shared image gallery that I just explained. If you want to use that, you can select as well prepared image that we have in store for you. Most likely based on Windows 10 multi-session, the disk type, preferably standard SSD or premium, networking configuration settings, and as well the account that you use to join the session host to the domain. So basically your service account, domain joiner, VM joiner account. And after that, you start with the creation of the workspace, which was previously a PowerShell pre-step and now completely consolidated inside the Azure portal. So you just create a workspace here, you give it a name, and then you're good to go. And then you can start the deployment of your virtual desktops, your session host as part of your host pool, as part of your Windows Virtual Desktop environment. And when you're done with that, you will see as part of your workspace is your created workspace, your application groups, which can be a desktop or remote app, or the host pool. And inside the host pool, you will see the virtual machines that you added to that and the status of that, if it's in a drain mode, how many active sessions you have to that host pool. And you can do, as well as part of the application groups, you can do the assignment here. So you can first like publish applications on here. So every application that is visible or installed or assigned with like an application virtualization technology, you can assign them here and promote that as a remote app. So you publish the application here. And so you can do that for all the apps that are visible in the start menu, or you can create a custom app. And afterwards you can do, like, you can adjust them if you want, but afterwards you can do the assignment piece. So previously only possible to do directly to a user, but right now as well based on Azure Active Directory groups. So all the groups that you have synchronized from on-prem AD with Azure AD Connect, are like possible to select here. So I select Office users, and all the users as part of Office users will see that remote app or subset of applications available in their Windows Virtual Desktop portal, or in the client, or in like one of the mobile apps that they use. So really, easier way to do the configuration piece. So one of the other great updates that we did is around the Teams audio and video redirection. So Teams is obviously a very popular service, let's say communication tool right now, because it enables as well work from home. But Teams in a virtualized session, and let me start the demo again here, makes it possible with the AV redirection, makes it possible to directly connect to the other endpoint. So not go over the Teams cloud, but directly to the endpoint itself. So we use a WebRTC client for that. The WebRTC client is installed inside your session host, and that creates a connection between your client and the session host, and that renders the traffic of your audio and video traffic within Teams to your endpoint, and makes it possible to go directly to the other user in, for example, the same network. And as well, the video is basically giving you the same experience, because you render directly inside the virtual, or inside your endpoint through a virtual channel, to your physical endpoint Windows 10 device. So how that looks and how that feels in terms of an experience. So this is a virtualized session, a Windows Virtual Desktop virtualized session. And here's my Teams version installed with the new AV redirection. So when you request a version over here, you will see that my Windows Virtual Desktop media optimized status shows up as part of Teams. So that means the WebRTC AV redirection client is active right now. So if I go to the device settings in my settings menu, you see that my local device is mapped inside my session, and that the performance is already, as you can see, very good over here. And that's basically the same performance as you have on like a physical laptop device when you open up Teams. So when I set up a connection here, you see that the performance of Teams in my virtual desktop session as part of Windows Virtual Desktop is great. It's just the same as you have in your normal Teams client. And that is available right now in a public preview. And you can start leverage that today if you want. And it's fairly easy to implement that. So if you're interested in this, to implement this as part of your Windows Virtual Desktop environment, you can go to this link on the right side. And that makes it, or that describes like the complete procedure and steps that you need to take for that. The good thing is that you don't need to be whitelisted anymore to get access to this preview. So let's go to the next great upgrade or update that came into public preview in December last year, and is currently in involvement as well, and that's called MSX App Attach. And MSX App Attach is our new way to do application delivery as part of Windows Virtual Desktop more efficient. So as part of your images, and I will touch base on images after this slide in a more detail in a traditional environment, but Normally, if you create a custom image, you most likely install an application inside that image, you sysprep it, and then you use it as a baseline. With MSX App Attach, that process is a little bit different and more efficient. So if you look at the traditional, like a traditional VDI environment, yeah, you can do the installation manually. But if you look at like a Windows Virtual Desktop, like modern infrastructure, you have a user, you have the Windows Virtual Desktop service, you have your host pool, and the user connects to Windows Virtual Desktop. He or she gets via the host pool a virtual machine assigned, and the user profile, the FSLogix profile container, is being assigned, and that is stored on Azure files separately from the operating system, because we use a filter driver for that. And yeah, we use a container virtual hard drive, which is being used to stream the profile from Azure files, as an example. With MSX App Attach, we do basically the same behavior. We separate the applications from the image, and we adjust. We make it possible to inject the application directly during logon, as an example, inside that virtual machine without updating the images, as an example. So you separate the assignment of the applications, and the updating process can be done separately as well because of that. So you can store those applications on Azure files or Azure NetApp files, as an example. It could be any SMB storage location, but the great benefit of it is that you can consolidate multiple golden images that you now create in your, for example, traditional virtual desktop environment or RDS environment to just one golden image, and yeah, use and mount those applications on the fly during logon or during boot, as an example, based on an Active Directory group. So on the left side, you see the traditional approach, multiple images, and yeah, as part of that, you create per department a different like image version. And on the right side, you see one golden image. You have the FSLogix profile container to separate the user profile from the image, and you have the MSX App Attach application to use MSIX as an application virtualization technology, which you probably all know. That is like, yeah, sort of, so to say, the future of AppV. And with App Attach, we make it possible to expand that application into a virtual hard drive and assign it on the fly during logon to a user session. So this is the procedure and the terminology that we use for MSX App Attach. So first of all, you create, or you get from an ISV, an MSX App Attach container. And after that, you stage the container. So you sort of like pre-mount your virtual hard drive to the session host. And then if the user logs on, you do the registration of the MSX application. And you can, even if you have like multiple applications that are like dependent on another version, you can like delay registration as well, but that's optional. And with that, you make that application on demand available for that user without even touching that image, that custom image. So, for example, in a custom image scenario, you need to promote a new image version. All the users need to log off, back on, all kinds of extra maintenance efforts. With MSX App Attach, you do that on the fly during logon, separately from any other user. So you can just do it for one user on that same machine, and yeah, just be efficient with other users that are logging on to that environment as well. So this is a quick demo how that looks and feels. So this F disk is already pre-mounted. Normally you won't see that, but just for demo purposes. And it includes Visual Studio Code, which you don't see on this virtual machine right now. So if I run the MSX App Attach commands over here, then the application, the MSIX process and the mounting process will happen in milliseconds, and that will make the application available as it is a local installed application as part of this session host. So here you can see Visual Studio Code now, and if I click on it, it runs and looks and feels for the end user just as a local installed application. So you can do that with any of the Win32 application that you're using in your environment. And if your application is not possible to run on Windows 10, as an example, we have a service that is called Desktop App Azure that you can leverage as part of your licensing model that can help you to migrate applications that are currently not running on Windows 10 to make them work on Windows 10 as well as Windows 10 multi-session. And then you can use it as well as part of, for example, MSX App Attach. MSX App Attach is, by the way, in public preview as well. We hope to go into GA very soon from now, but you can already test it and play around with that. If you need a very in-depth procedure on how you can configure it, please have a look at my blog. I have a complete article on that as well. So that were the main updates that I would like to share on like ARM and as well MSX App Attach and Teams. But we obviously have some more capabilities in store. So one of the great things that happened yesterday, and that was like a public preview that happened for a couple of months, is the native support for domain controllers Active Directory for Azure files. So you can now store like your SMB kind of storage, as a storage, like storage file location. You can store your AVSLogs profile or company data or MSX App Attach applications on Azure files while using AD as an authentication mechanism for NTFS, as an example. So that's now in GA, so you can use it for your production workloads. That happened yesterday, so great news on that side. I already explained what kind of improvements we did on Microsoft Teams. So we made that AV redirection possible over WebRTC to give you the same experience as you use Teams on a physical device as well, now in a virtual like session inside Windows Virtual Desktop. Another great partnership that we had with Agile, which we released in January, is support for thin clients which run on Linux. So whoever expected that, right? So Windows Virtual Desktop runs on a Linux thin client. So that is something you can leverage with the Agile technology. We enhance the integration with other M365 services. So think about conditional access and MFA. That's all possible, and the RBAC model capabilities that are now possible to use with the new Armbased model. So all great of other feature enhancements are coming up. So think about Azure Sentinel. Like Azure Monitor is coming or is already available, but more like adjustment and more documentation is coming very soon on that topic as well. And as I said, the big improvement in the admin experience. So think about all the things that you just saw as part of the demo, the enrollment. That's the real improvement that customers are really happy to see, because the previous version was a lot of PowerShell as well as things that we're not very efficient in terms of how you expect to use Azure, and that's now all solved with new ARM-based models. So great things on that, and of course the preview of MSX App Attach that is available. So if you're interested in more of the roadmap items, we have a public roadmap as well, which is listed under ak.ms WVD roadmap. So if you go to that link, you will see all the features that I just explained and some more, and some timelines when that will go into GA soon. So we talked a little bit about, or a lot about, the update and what Windows Virtual Desktop is. So let's talk a little bit about migration for like five more minutes, and what kind of tools that you can use to migrate from an on-prem like traditional RDS infrastructure or VDI infrastructure to Windows Virtual Desktop. So as part of Azure Migrate, which is like a key service to do like lift and shift from on-premises like infrastructure services to Azure, we made it possible to do that as well for virtual desktop infrastructures. So right now, if you go to Azure Migrate and you create a project, you will see VDI listed in the menu, and that makes it possible to migrate like desktop operating systems as well as do the assessment of desktop operating systems with like partners like Layside that we have for that. So you can like proactively see what your costs will be in Azure based on calculations that we provide with Azure Migrate. So great like new feature that you can use to make it easier to migrate from on-prem if you go for like a brownfield kind of custom images scenario. So how that looks and feels in terms of a high-level procedure perspective. So first of all, you need to have the prerequisites in place for Azure Migrate and as well Windows Virtual Desktop, as I just explained. And after that, you need to configure the Azure Migrate service. So you need to create a project, you need to configure the appliance to Hyper-V or VMware ESX as an example. Then you do the assessment, so you collect the information of your existing environment. And if that all goes properly, you can replicate your virtual machines, test the migration, and if that all succeeds well, you can start the migration to production as part of the Azure Migrate procedure. So this is the new service that you can find, or the new like module inside Azure Migrate, which is called VDI. And as part of that, you can just click on VDI and you can select, for example, the tool sets that you want to use for that. So you click on Add Tools, and you select as part of the assessment tool Lakeside, because that's the partner that we use for that, and they collect all the insights as part of your current environment. And if you're done with that, you install the agent as part of the Lakeside technology, you get all kinds of great insights as part of your current environment. So you see, okay, what kind of usage is happening in my environment? What are the type of applications? What are the let's say like personas of my environment? And when you're done with that, you can eventually go into your Azure Migrate portal and go to the assessment tools and then see all the discovered users and as well what the eventual cost will be. So if you're done with that and you saw everything that you wanted to see in terms of, okay, this is my sizing that gives most likely the same experience, then you can move to the next phase, and that's the migration phase. So you start as part of the migration tools, the server migration. As part of that procedure, you select, okay, where are my machines coming from? So that could be Hyper-V or VMware ESX. And as part of that, you start a replication of your machines. And as part of that replication, if that is done, you can start a migration to Azure. So it basically creates out of that replication, that virtual machine that is stored in your Azure Storage Blob environment, it creates a virtual machine. So as part of that, that's basically in a quick nutshell, how you can migrate from on-prem to Windows Virtual Desktop. So that's basically the virtual machine part of it. So what about users and application data as an example? So it could be if you have an existing VDI infrastructure that you currently use roaming profiles or any other roaming profile UPD technology. So we have obviously a solution for that as well. And as you can see here, this is the PowerShell phrase. We have a PowerShell module available that you can download. So you can find it on my blog as well. And if you use this command, you can convert your existing UPD, but we have for UPM and UP and roaming profiles as well a module available that can convert your existing profile solution into the FSLogic profile container with this command. So I really encourage you, if you want to go and reuse your existing profiles, to investigate the capabilities of this script, because it can make your life a lot easier. So what we see as well coming from a lot of customers is that they go for a greenfield scenario because they want to create a clean profile and start from there. So let's close this session because we are almost at time, and close with a call to action. So everything that you saw here could be found as well on Microsoft Docs. So if you are interested in an overview of Windows Virtual Desktop, the different components, you can go to the aka.ms/wvd short link. If you go to this link, this is a complete deployment blog article on the tech community that I wrote earlier that you can leverage to deploy Windows Virtual Desktop ARM. Obviously the WVD roadmap that I just explained, great mechanics videos that you can find for free on YouTube by Jeremy Chapman, and as well as some great guidances here on Azure Migrate that you can use as well to migrate your existing traditional VDI or RDS infrastructure. So with that, before I close, I would say one more thing, and we'll hand it over back to the organizers here. So one more thing, because as part of community, it's always like a reoccurring story. When is the year of VDI happening, right? So the year of VDI, the word VDI is Virtual Desktop Infrastructure, and with Windows Virtual Desktop, we take care of your infrastructure. And because Virtual Desktop technology is so popular right now, I would like to rephrase before I close this session, the year of 2020, the year of Windows Virtual Desktop. I hope you guys agree with me, because the attention, the demand is enormous. And with that, I would like to say, stay safe, be healthy, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Christian. We really appreciate it. As penance for going exactly 2 minutes over, we're going to require that you stick around and answer the massive amount of Q&A, and it is the number of questions is staggering at the moment. So if you would mind going through the Q&A, I think we've tagged you in most of them, and then feel free to publish those, any of them that you think the community would benefit from.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Appreciate it.